Today we dive into one of the most mind-blowing mysteries of the Bible, Sodom and Gomorrah. Imagine this, a thriving ancient city wiped out in an instant by fire and brimstone, just as described in Genesis 19. For years, skeptics claimed it was just a myth, but recent archaeological discoveries have turned that narrative upside down. Could the ruins of el-Hammam and edh-Dhra hold the key to proving Sodom's existence? Stick with me as we uncover the evidence that might just confirm this biblical catastrophe. Hit that like button and subscribe if you're ready to start this journey. Hello, truth seekers. This is Apologetically Unapologetic, and I'm Josh. Today we explore the archaeological evidence for Sodom, the infamous city destroyed by divine judgment in Genesis 19. This chapter describes how God rained fire and sulfur on Sodom and Gomorrah due to their wickedness, sparing only Lot and his daughters. For centuries, this story was seen as mere allegory, but modern biblical archaeology is challenging this view. We'll look at two leading candidates, Tal el-Hammam in Jordan and edh-Dhra near the Dead Sea, and the compelling evidence suggesting these sites could be the real Sodom. Let's get started. Genesis 19 paints a vivid picture. Sodom was a prosperous city in a plain near the Dead Sea, known for its sinfulness. When angels warned Lot to flee, the city was obliterated by a supernatural firestorm. Archaeologists have long sought to locate this city, guided by clues like its proximity to the Red Sea and the mentions of a fertile plain. The debate centers around two sites, Tal el-Hammam, excavated since 2005 by Dr. Stephen Collins, and edh-Dhra, studied since the 1960s by scholars like Walter Rost and Thomas Schaub. Both sites offer tantalizing hints, but which holds the truth? Let's break it down. First up, Tal el-Hammam, located northeast of the Dead Sea in Jordan. Dr. Stephen Collins, a leading biblical archaeologist, argues that this massive Bronze Age city spreading over 100 acres fits the biblical description of Sodom perfectly. Excavations reveal a sudden catastrophic destruction around 1700 BC, marked by a 3-foot layer of ash, melted pottery, and scorched stones. Collins suggests a cosmic airburst, possibly a meteor explosion, caused this devastation, aligning with the Genesis 19 account of fire from heaven. Radiocarbon dating supports this timeline, and the site's abandonment for 700 years mirrors the biblical curse on this land. Furthermore, Tal el-Hammam's location matches Genesis 13, where Lot chose a well-watered plain east of Bethel. The city's size and fortifications include a royal palace, suggesting it was a dominant regional power ideal for the great city of Sodom. Critics argue that the date might be a little too late for Abraham's era, but Collins counters that the biblical chronologies need re-evaluation. It is my view that radiocarbon dating can be skewed for events dating this far in the past. I'll explain this reasoning in a future video. This evidence makes Tal el-Hammam a strong contender in the Sodom and Gomorrah discovery debate. Now let's head south to edh-Dhra, located near the southeastern end of the Dead Sea. Originally discovered in 1924 by archaeologist William Albright and later excavated by his student Paul Lapp, 41 years later in 1965, Lapp's findings built on Albright's foundational approaches, especially the use of ceramic typology and stratigraphic analysis. But his work also reflected a shift towards a more nuanced understanding of archaeological data in relation to biblical narratives. His career was tragically cut short when he drowned in 1970, leaving his wife, Nancy Lapp, to continue his work and publish much of his research. Excavated again in the 1970s, this early bronze site, around 2300 BC, shows signs of a fiery destruction with layers of ash and burned buildings. Archaeologist Brian Woods highlights a fortified city with a cemetery of over 20,000 shaft tombs, including a large population consistent with Sodom's status. Nearby Numeria, possibly Gomorrah, also shows similar destruction, supporting the idea of multiple cities of the plain. The presence of bitumen and sulfur deposits in the region could explain the brimstone of Genesis 19, possibly ignited by an earthquake. Woods argues the site aligns with a traditional southern location inferred from Genesis 10:19, placing Sodom on Canaan's southern border. However, many claim the earlier date of 2300 BC poses a challenge as it predates Abraham's time by centuries. The dating of this archaeological site was determined by a combination of radiocarbon dating, ceramic dating, and stratigraphy. I've already explained the known issues with stratigraphy in a previous video, and again see issues with radiocarbon dating, which I will explain in a later video. The findings of William Albright, Paul Lapp, and Brian Wood confirm the timing of the biblical narrative, backed up by the ceramic evidence found at the site. So how do these sites stack up? Both Tal el-Hammam and Bab edh-Dhra show evidence of a sudden fiery destruction, a key feature of Genesis 19. Tal el-Hammam's later date and cosmic impact theory offer a dramatic fit, while Bab edh-Dhra's earlier timeline and natural disaster hypothesis tie into the region's geography. Bab edh-Dhra seems to be a better fit, looking at the geography of Sodom described in the Bible. And the direction of the Canaanites extended from Sidon in the direction of Gerar as far as Gaza, and in the direction of Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboim, as far as Lasha. Bab edh-Dhra would make more sense because it's directly east of Gaza, which lines up with the believed border of Canaan, while drawing this border at Tal el-Hammam would exclude many cities known to be a part of Canaan. Eusebius, a 4th century historian, states that is Segor. It is now known as Zorah, the only one of the 5 cities of the territory of Sodom cursed by Lot which escaped. It is now inhabited, remains still in the vicinity of the Dead Sea. This points to the town of Zoar, which Lot escapes to after fleeing Sodom. A map found on the floor of the early Byzantine period church of St. George in Madaba, Jordan, is known as the Madaba map. This map and an archaeological site for Zoar places Zorah or Zoar near the site of Bab edh-Dhra. Ezekiel gives further evidence for which of these sites could be Sodom when he rebukes Jerusalem. And your older sister is Samaria, who lived with her daughters to the north of you. And your younger sister, who lived to the south of you, is Sodom with her daughters. This would mean that Sodom would have to be south of Jerusalem, which gives further credence to the Bab edh-Dhra location. We get one last set of clues when God shows Moses an aerial view of this area. Then Moses went up from the plains of Moab to Mount Nebo, to the top of Pisgah, which is opposite Jericho, and the Lord showed him all the land, Gilead as far as Dan, all Naphtali, the land of Ephraim and Manasseh, all the land of Judah, as far as the western sea, the Negeb, and the plain, that is the valley of Jericho, the city of palm trees, as far as Zoar. Scripture lists these sites from north to south, which would again discount Tal el-Hammam as a possible site and confirm Bab edh-Dhra. Tal el-Hammam's size and strategic location support its role as a major city. whereas edh-Dhra's cemetery and proximity to other ruined sites like Numeria bolster the southern theory. The debate hinges on dating and interpretation. Both sites challenge the idea that Sodom is mere legend. Recent studies, including those from 2025, suggest the Dead Sea region's tectonic activity and resource deposits could amplify any disaster, whether divine or natural. Posts on X reflect growing excitement, with some users citing el-Hammam's airburst evidence as proof of biblical truth. While inconclusive, this sentiment highlights the public's interest in archaeological evidence of Sodom findings. Let's dig deeper into the science. In 2021, Nature study on el-Hammam proposed a meteor airburst, with melted artifacts and impact markers supporting a high-temperature event. Though retracted in 2025 due to methodological flaws, the initial findings sparked a debate, with some geologists still exploring cosmic impacts in the region. For edh-Dhra, geological surveys note bitumen eruptions tied to earthquakes, a possible trigger for the biblical firestorm. The Dead Sea's unique chemistry, rich in sulfur and salt, adds credibility to both theories, suggesting a natural mechanism amplified by divine intervention, as Genesis implies. Critics argue these events could explain multiple destructions, not just Sodom's, yet the consistency of ash layers, abandonment periods, and regional traditions like salt pillars linked to Lot's wife keep the biblical connection alive. Archaeological evidence for Sodom research continues to evolve, with 2025 web discussions exploring these intersections of faith and science. Beyond archaeology, Sodom's story resonates culturally. Genesis 19 warns of divine judgment, a theme echoed in later prophets like Isaiah and Jeremiah. If el-Hammam or edh-Dhra is Sodom, it validates the Bible's historical roots, bridging ancient faith with modern discovery. The site's desolation, as prophesied, aligns with both locations' long abandonment, reinforcing the narrative's power. This isn't just about ruins, it's about understanding humanity's past and its lessons. Skeptics claim no inscriptions name Sodom, and the story might be symbolic. Fair point. Archaeology rarely finds direct labels, but the lack of evidence isn't evidence of absence. The Dead Sea's shifting landscape could have submerged or eroded artifacts. Plus, the scale of destruction at both sites, unmatched by typical warfare, suggests something extraordinary, aligning with Genesis 19's divine act. Secular groups may hesitate, but the convergence of data keeps the Sodom hypothesis alive. So is there archaeological evidence for Sodom from Genesis 19? Absolutely. el-Hammam and edh-Dhra offer compelling clues, from ash layers to geological anomalies. While the exact sites remain debated, the evidence challenges skepticism and enriches our understanding of biblical history. What do you think? Does el-Hammam or edh-Dhra convince you? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's discuss. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more biblical archaeology. Check the description for links to articles and studies like those on el-Hammam's excavation and Genesis 19 analysis. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to Dr. Stephen Collins, Brian Wood, and web resources like biblicalarchaeology.org, friendshiptours.com, and YouTube channel Expedition Bible for their insights. Please continue to follow along as we learn more about the evidence for the biblical narrative. May God keep you and bless you. Really quick, before you go, let me explain why I felt led to start this channel. When talking to Pilate, Jesus said, "I have come into the world to bear witness to the truth. Everyone who is of the truth listens to my voice." Pilate responds by asking, "What is the truth?" It's evident that a lot of people are still asking this question almost 2,000 years later. And while we live in an amazing time with the wealth of the world's knowledge available in the palm of our hands, there's often too much information, leaving people unable to process what's true and what's not true. Paul describes such times in this way when he writes his second letter to his disciple Timothy. Always learning and never able to arrive at a knowledge of the truth. There are several who expound on what truth is, but often they are misguided, or they are malice in their intent, or they're being intellectually dishonest. My hope is that I am able to provide evidence for why the scriptural narrative is true, a contextual and practical explanation of the principles found in its writings, and a defense for other believers. As Peter explains, you should always be prepared to make a defense to anyone who asks you for a reason for the hope that is in you, yet do it with gentleness and respect. If you find value in this channel as I do, there are a few ways you can help, both by gifting and without spending any money. First, react and interact with these videos wherever you're watching from. This greatly helps the channel be seen by others and new people. Next, please share this content with others you feel may benefit from the information found here. Also, please subscribe to this channel on all social media. And finally, if you feel led to, and if you have the means to, please consider giving to this channel through the outlets previously mentioned, or the channel's Patreon. All these links are going to be in the video description. Thank you for watching, and may God keep you and bless you.